You are looking live at one of the tracks out there which determines needing all of the driver's skill to get up to the very top. This is a track that prioritizes making sure that you are on the power at the perfect moment. These corners are tough. This circuit is tough. And this championship is one that's walking more and more into the hands of Jack David Spickett out there as racing goes on. We are here, Jerez, the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto. It's the full Moto layout, and it's here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name is Jake Sperry, and alongside me in the booth for this one today is Reese Gardner. Christian Deploy is in the director's chair. He is using the cameras provided today by Dougie Beard. But for Jerez, a circuit that is more known for its motorbike racing, than it is when it comes to that on four wheels, but quite honestly might have one of the most famous last championship deciding moments out there in racing history. So to have that dichotomy together, let's get an understanding of this place with our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Circuito de Jerez. With a rich history of both open wheel and motorcycle racing, this track has been the center of Spanish motorsports for many years. It can be found at the very southern tip of the country, located just an hour and a half from the Strait of Gibraltar. Its two layouts include 13 or 15 turns over roughly 2 3/4 miles, and the only distinction between them is the inclusion or exclusion of the center chicane. While it's probably best known for its Formula One races in the 80s and 90s, it's now mostly utilized by sports cars and lower-level open-wheelers. A mix of fast sweepers are punctuated by a handful of sharp hairpins, requiring both good mechanical and aero grip for a stable car. Perhaps the most notorious of the turns is Dry Sack, which was recently renamed to Danny Pedrosa after the famous motorcycle champion. But the corner saw Schumacher and Villeneuve decide the 1997 F1 championship by colliding, only to have the Canadian limp his car home to claim the title. Because of the warm climate, winter testing is very popular here. On top of that, the lap length and modern facilities make it ideal for a wide variety of types of racing. Judging by how much use it sees even 40 years after it was built, it certainly shows no sign of slowing down.
A circuit which has all of the hallmarks of what makes a racetrack great. Jerez has pretty much everything. It's got the long flowing corners, lots of elevation changes, and places where passes can be made. You're looking at Dry Sack Corner as being the best place to have a move out there on circuit, but really here, Reese, this is a track that demands respect, and in the hot temperatures that we expect around a circuit like this, it's a tire cruncher.
Oh, it absolutely is. This circuit is one of my favorites on iRacing. There, I said it. It just provides fantastic racing. A smooth surface, very technical in nature. But there's a couple of corners around this place where the ground effect nature of the Lotus 79 will come to the fore. I'm talking about corners like turns 4 and 5 at Cito Pons, and then the sweeping left-handers after Dry Sack, not to mention Alex Crivier, the sweeping right-hander through Ferrari as well. We are not running the Grand Prix chicane. We're running the Moto layout here, so these cars can stretch their legs and let those Cosworth V8s sing.
Absolutely, once upon a time, that chicane was put into play after the incidents in 1994. And, of course, this running a championship in 1997 really proved to be what made it metal. But this is a championship that is reaching the 2/3 stage overall as things stands. And on the top at the moment of the F1 standings is Jack David Spickett. Drop rounds all used up for Juho Reiner, not here today. Also not here today, Timothy van den Berg in third position, which means the main challenge is going to come from John Olsen and Gernot Freixa, who are 4th and 5th in the championships. Danilo Sanfilippo finds himself 6th overall, with Dylan Freckleton in 7th and Mikko Leno in 8th place. Kartik Pai is in 9th in the championship, with Jean-Francois Boscus rounding out the top 10 in the F1 driver standings. Now, the F2 driver standings, it's a familiar face at the front here, Reese, but someone who is walking away with things as it stands.
Yeah, Björn Ackerman is looking fantastic at the moment on 240 points, but it's looking quite close between Rolly Wallbank and Kurt Clapper, only 4 points separating them. Jana Lehmann and Ben Summers fighting hard with Miguel Moreland for 4th place in the championship as we get into the later stages of the season. And there's only 2 points between Keith Herner and Adam Klatska for 7th and 8th. Depending on who is here in the session tonight and where they finish, we could be looking at some very different looking F2 driver standings from next round onward, at least from 2nd on back.
We certainly could do, as that all looks to try and bring itself together. Now, of course, this is an iRacing championship out there, but the teams that have been brought together, it has been the Fittipaldi team of Jack David Spickett and Jani Lehmann, which has been the biggest claimer of points out there. Lotus find themselves in 2nd and looking backwards with no Juho Rainer here today, so Sanremo Racing and Alfa Romeo with a chance to jump up into 3rd and 2nd respectively, with Ligier finding themselves in 5th. They're trying to stave off the challenge of Ferrari with a Sella in 7th. TVR Racing, the team of Dylan Freckleton and Dylan Freckleton alone, in 8th place. Williams find themselves in 9th, and ATS, they're the team of Pedro Marquez and Gary Ho, currently find themselves in 10th position overall. 2 drop rounds in all of the championships. But if you're here for the first time and you've stumbled across us here on iRacing, this is one race that you definitely don't want to miss. And Reese, talk us through what this race is going to be all about, the distances and the measurements we need today.
Well, 25 laps around the Circuito de Jerez. This is round 8 of 12 in a 12-week iRacing season, so we're starting to get to the business end of the championship. It's an open setup, so drivers can adjust pretty much anything that the car will allow them to adjust, from springs to dampers to anti-roll bars to gearing ratios, what have you. But if you have a crash out there, you won't be able to get a quick repair. There is no spare car. You've also got to be careful of the off-tracks around here and hitting other cars. You reach 17 incidents, you will get a drive-through penalty. If you reach 25, you will get disqualified.
Qualifying has just concluded, and it is the championship leader, Jack David Spickett, on the pole, with Pepe Fuentes alongside for company on that front row. Dylan Freckleton is going to start from 3rd alongside Gernot Freixa, the living legend, and the F2 championship leader, Björn Ackerman, has got unicorn power. He's in 5th, with John Olsen in 6th. Victor Rodriguez will go from 7th along with Rolly Wallbank, as Jean-Francois Bosca starts 9th alongside Miguel Moreland on row 5.
Barry West is going to start in 11th place alongside Thomas Silbernagel, with Timothy Reed in lucky 13th alongside Byron Long on row 7. Andrew Petty and Manning Grinnan start on the 8th row. Ben Summers and Keith Herner, they are down on row 9. Rounding out the top 20, we have Doug Cloud and Jason Krakowiak.
22 drivers were able to set times. Jose Conda and Juan Jose Suarez being those 2 drivers. The other 4 are going to be split on their iRacing. So Daniel Gallis, Carlos Oliveira, Davide Riccardi and Wolfram Fund are going to be the drivers who will start from the back of the field, as they did not set a time in their qualifying efforts. Now, they have 2 minutes to get themselves gridded up here today, or they start from a place known as pit lane here in Andalusia in Spain, a region of racing, or a region of the country, so to speak, of Spain, which is known very much for its sherry production, Jerez, as well as its race circuit. But as these drivers get themselves on, it's a hot track of 44 degrees. Keep an eye on that as the green flag is dropped and we get ourselves underway. A lightning start from the third row of the grid and swarming up the hill. That was Victor Rodriguez who did well. No challenge for Jack David Spickett. Wide will go Pepe Fuentes through Expo 92 over to Michelin here at turn 2. And now it's about pick and choose your way forward. What a start by Victor Rodriguez. He's now looking for 4th place on Geno Preacher heading through turn 4.
It's a bit difficult for him to hold the outside, though, isn't it? But he'll try and get up the inside of Cito Pons. No, Geno is going to fling it in there, and we know how quick he is. He is going to be on a mission as the battle continues up in the top 3. Dylan Freckleton under a lot of pressure from Pepe Fuentes, who has lost that 2nd place.
We've got 2 drivers in the pits early. Andrew Petty is one of them. Byron Long is the other. They both came together on the run to turn 1 on the straight, so that took both of them out. I believe Doug Plough was caught up in that one as well in the opening lap, so troubles there. There is Victor Rodriguez. You can see number 2 in the field, and you can see their iRatings there underneath their name. That's their indication here, Reese, of how good they are in official iRacing servers out there. You normally talk about 3,000 iRating being the difference between getting your toes wet and deciding to be a full Olympic swimmer, so to speak. There goes Pepe to the inside, forcing away through it. Jorge Lorenzo with a crowbar.
Wow, I mean, open wheel racing is supposed to be a non-contact sport, but nobody told Dylan Freckleton that. Goodness me, what a fantastic job that Pepe Fuentes did to try and get back 2nd place. And he didn't quite spin out Freckleton either, so play on from here. Freckleton's going to try and come back.
He is, but ultimately he's not going to get that line out of Michelin, and through turns 3 and 4 he's going to find the dirty air effect here around Jerez is very, very difficult. There was also issues on lap 1 with Miguel Morland, who spun at turn 3, so that's why he's dropped down the order. Keith Herner has had himself a decent start. He's looking to go +5 at this moment in time. His eyes firmly affixed on the 21 of Manning Grinnan.
Yeah, Manning is keeping his eyes peeled on his mirrors at the moment as Barry West tries going on Timothy Reed at dry sack. That was almost a Schumacher and Villeneuve moment, but fortunately he managed to pull it up. And now we're on the about the middle to the end of lap 2. The tyres should be starting to get up to temperature here. It's such a struggle to get these cars up to speed, but once they do, they're like big fat go-karts with those big wide tyres. Jean-Francois Boscus had to back out of that one. Very difficult in that section of the circuit.
Well, it is worth talking about the wind here for a second, because it's blustery. It's 16 kilometres an hour here coming in from the south, which is causing a little bit of havoc there. 110 Fahrenheit out there at the moment, and that is enough to about move the braking zone here or there, Reese, by about 5 metres as Jack David Spickett goes purple on the timing machine as they go forward and make that charge. That's Davide Ricciardi off the road there at the final corner of Lorenzo, slightly on camber, so I assume he's taking a long lap penalty, so to speak.
Yeah, does seem that way. Interesting to note that Jack David Spickett, yes, does have the best official lap of the session, but Pepe Fuentes is pushing the limits of the racetrack here. He obviously got an off track on his fastest lap, which was 0.3 faster than JDS's fastest. So I think we're going to have a race for the lead at some point.
Well, I think that could definitely be the case. Pepe Fuentes on home soil. Dylan Freckleton just behind has the living legend, of course, Geno Preacher behind him, a member of iRacing. Geno once upon a time was up at 8,000 iRacing, and he couldn't lose a race for love nor money, but right now he's trying to find that form that he can rekindle once again. Juan Jose Suarez back here. It's busy in the mid to late pack right now. Miguel Morland's just found his way back through in his gaining places. Daniel Gallis and Wolfram Fund are the next two to try and challenge. They head round the outside. Whoa. It's a little too deep though. He's going to go spinning into the gravel at Nieto corner, and that completely ruins his run through Palucci.
Yeah, my goodness, I thought surely not. Surely he'd be able to make the apex from there, but no, that was a ridiculous off there from Daniel Gallis. Oh my God, okay. Juan Jose Suarez getting into the wall there. I'm surprised that car's still drivable with that airborne moment.
He just went rear tyre to rear tyre. It is exactly the same effect in 2021, the most controversial Formula One season of all time, at Monza, where Hamilton and Verstappen came together. It was exactly the same sort of contact that forced that together, and very much a case of Juan Jose Suarez ending up worse off at that stage. Down then at Drysack corner, Dylan Freckleton still keeping at an arm's distance Jerez, who's not close enough in his Ligier to try and make that pass. Of course, it's a Ligier livery on top of a Lotus 79, but you're really getting a sense of what makes this circuit difficult through Aspar. So easy to lose the rear end, and you're fighting against every single part of the track right now, and the easiest way to say it is the hardest second to close down is 1 second to 0.
Yeah, exactly, especially when you're running as close behind the other cars as Jerez is on Dylan Freckleton. These cars, of course, produce the majority of their downforce through underbody aerodynamics, so they're not as sensitive to following closely as modern-day Formula cars, but they can still have some sensitivity, as Davide Ricciardi is finding out to his detriment. New fastest lap, meanwhile, from Pepe Fuentes. He is a full half a second faster than Jack David Spickett, who's still in the lead of the race, but the gap is closing.
Well, it's howdy there from Pepe Fuentes. He realises here that Jack David Spickett might not have the outright pace that he wants. He's been unchallenged. He's the winner of the last 2 rounds of this championship, and his main championship rivals are not here today. So Jack David Spickett knows all he's got to do is put together a decent result, and that might play into the hands of Pepe Fuentes here, as it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and that's Jose Conda in a classic livery, finding himself around out the 16th position, and it looks like he is absolutely back. Look at that, it's no front left tyre.
Okay. I can't say I've ever seen that before. Ben Summers having a big problem on board the number 19. I got to wonder how that happened and how he's able to make it through the right-hand turns. Well, I think he's decided that it's not worth continuing on around the rest of the lap. He's going to tow back to the pits there, but that was a very bizarre incident.
That's exactly the same incident with Jose Conda, by the way. Those two, it was Summers who lost the back end out of turn 3, and because of that, Jose Conda had nowhere to go, and that was the issue. Miguel Morlan now looking aggressive here through Alex Crevier, and now through Ferrari, trying to line up the path, but lifting way out of it early here because he's trying to get that pivot off the exit to pass Carlos Oliveira for position, but he gets a hefty amount of oversteer out on that curb, and the Ferrari inspired livery is not going to find that way past Oliveira on this lap.
Yeah, accelerating out of slow corners in this car is a hard slog because it has the old Cosworth DFV V8. It's got some solid power and torque figures and some big fat rear tyres to put the power down, but you've got to slide these cars through the corners to really get the best out of them. Here comes Thomas Silvernagel coming up into 11th place, makes the pass on Jean-Francois Boscus coming into Drysack.
A Ferrari not making contact at Drysack corner. Look at that, a shot. But Thomas Silvernagel gets his way through on Jean-Francois Boscus, so it's not necessarily going the way of the Ferrari drivers here at this moment in time. Rushing through Aspar into Angel Nieto corner itself, and Bjorn Ackermann has not given up the ghost in this race. He's done really well to hang on to Victor Rodriguez here in 5th place, and this is the statement that Bjorn Ackermann is looking at here as he sits on 2,500 iRating. He's proving he's got pace to be part of the 3K club to go forward as they go under what is a spaceship of overhang over the top of the circuit. You know, you can actually get married at Jerez in that spaceship.
Nice. Well, I'll have to ask my girlfriend about that when the time comes. Might be able to afford a trip to Spain eventually. Regardless, let's see if the marriage between these two for 5th position works out or if it ends in a divorce. Regardless of the same for the battle for the lead as well. Pepe Fuentes, he's seems to have hit a bit of a brick wall, metaphorically, so to speak. Jack David Spickett responding beautifully to Fuentes' pace and has picked up his own pace. He just set the fastest lap, 1:27.9. 2.9. First driver to set a time in the 27s. And I'm seeing there's a problem for Bjorn. Oh no, Bjorn Ackerman falling down to 8th place. Looks like he's had a spin at dry sack.
Yeah, he's done it all on his own, no contact with anyone else, just tips it into the corner too aggressively, and as such he falls back. So that'll bring the likes then of Rolly Warbank through and John Olsen, who's been really quiet in this race as John, 4th in the championship, and this is how he scores his points, just elegant consistency.
Yeah, John Olsen, a name that regular watchers and competitors of both the Grand Prix Legends and the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship will be familiar with. He loves his historic race cars, and Jack David Spickett going ever faster, only by a couple of hundredths, but man, he is really starting to push now. He's responding beautifully to the pressure from Pepe Fuentes.
Responding but unable to break, and I think that's important here with Jack David Spickett. He is unable to break away from Pepe Fuentes, and up over the hill at Cito Pond, you're waiting for when you can put the power down at about 160 kilometers an hour. You then have this massive charge down the hill towards Drysack, which is the sort of straight here, Reese, that you feel needs an extra 100 meters or so to be a perfect overtaking opportunity. It's slightly too small for a number of drivers to make that move, and you get a real sense there as they went into Drysack. Jack David Spickett loves hugging the curbs on the inside. It's a little bit more paint by numbers by Pepe Fuentes.
Yeah, it does seem that way. Pepe is staying a bit wide of the curbs and trying to keep the suspension of the car on a stable platform, I think, because these cars are very sensitive to those bumps. It doesn't seem like there's that many of them around this circuit looking at it from the outside, but you run over those sawtooth curbs and you have a lot of trouble. Davide Ricciardi, meanwhile, down to 21st. Looks like he's had some trouble out of Cito Ponds. Not too sure if that was contact with another car or not, but yeah, okay, on his own, so that's not ideal at all. But yeah, it does seem that you have two different sort of styles emerging between our two front runners, to say nothing of Dylan Freckleton and Gernot Fritzsche. Let's see how these two compare through the same section.
Well, this is where chasing becomes important here. Gernot Fritzsche, once upon a time, was part of the 8K club. He's down at 6.8 at the moment, still number one in terms of iRacing in this field. But he now sees Dylan Freckleton in front, 2/10 quick on that last lap. Struggling over Cito Pons there is Gernot, because he has to go a little bit wider. That dirty air induces understeer, and Bjorn Ackerman. Now this is big, because this is on Rolly Warbank. This is for the F2 Championship lead here today, and that's Ackerman making his way back through. So Rolly Warbank here, realising how important it is, this battle, but unable to really make it happen. Ackerman's got the move he wants.
Yeah, with a little bit of a slide through Drysack. There was a bit more over-rotation of the car on board for Bjorn Ackerman. Let's see if Warbank can respond to that. Got to be careful not to run these tyres too ragged. There's a lot of high-speed corners at this place, and the tyres will punish you if you push them too hard, especially on a track as warm as this one.
But it's a very hot track, but it will be cooling as the day goes through, because they were at 5:05. Believe it or not, in the evening in Sin time. So this track should definitely find a way to get a little bit cooler. They had their siesta earlier on, and now it's the afternoon to try and clear their heads and really get some work done in this race. Gernot Fritzsche right now still shadowing the back of Dylan Freckleton, and he's just been probing. He's not been necessarily throwing a haymaker here or a haymaker there. Very much been a point-scoring style of run by Gernot. He is trying to open up an angle. He is trying alternative lines here. But ultimately, if Dylan Freckleton holds his line, he's got what he wants. But Gernot, this is the closest he's been all race long. There's a feint to that inside. Now an initial attempt, and Freckleton has thrown the car in deep. Wow. Look how great he is on the brakes. But it's about acceleration for Gernot Fritzsche. That's where he feels he's got the ability.
I'm amazed that Freckleton was able to go so deep into the corner and still maintain speed. I thought for sure he'd go straight onto the gravel trap, but Gernot, I think you're right, focusing on the exits here, trying to just widen the entry into these corners. You can run as long as you have two wheels still on the blue and white curbs. You're good. You won't get the off track, and it's corners like this that really make the difference. They're pushing so hard at such high speed. through this section, and now Fritsch will try and make up a little bit more time here on Freckleton. And traction is with both of them for now.
Only for now, though. Jack David Spickett putting the time in that's needed. Uphill braking zone up at Expo 92. A thought about it there by Jerez Fritsch. And because it's uphill braking zone to turn one, you can take it surprisingly late through that section. Up over the top of the crest then at Michelin, through turn 3 and heading over towards turn 4. These transfer left-handers at 230 clicks on the gun. You're really getting a sense that they are hanging on with the aerodynamics right now. They're 6 seconds off of the race leader as it stands, but down the hill, Jerez Fritsch a little bit further back this time. I think Dylan Freckleton's done enough, but the big, I would say, asterisk on it is for now.
Yeah, all about for now, and we're not even halfway through the race yet. At the end of this lap, we will be halfway through, just about. So few battles still on around the circuit. Of course, we have that one we're looking at there, then the battle for the lead. There's also this four-way fight now. Bjorn Ackermann is leaving Rolling Wallbank behind. That brings Timothy Reed, Barry West, and Thomas Silbernagel into the picture here in the battle for 8th.
Yeah, it's a case of being fed to the wolves right now for Rolly Wallbank, because he's got Reed, he's got everyone's favourite Barry West, and then, of course, Thomas Silbernagel trying to get in with what he wants. Fritsch out the final corner then, looking to attack Freckleton once again. Great response by Pepe Fuentes, 27.6, trying to get through. Now, you're going to see a lot of these lap times change hands out there, because it's not a tyre limited car race, it's actually a fuel limited car in terms of pace, so you're effectively gaining a 1/10 of a second every single time you take a lap around a circuit like this, just because of how much fuel you're burning.
Yeah, indeed, and the races are short enough that tyre stops are not going to be a factor. You just load it up with enough fuel to make it for 25 laps, and you go like the clappers indeed. Fantastic to see the pace at hand for these cars, but once again, Jerez Fritsch going a little bit shallower into dry sack than Dylan Freckleton, but Freckleton's able to hold on to the pace. I think he's running potentially a little bit more downforce on that car than Jerez Fritsch is.
Well, the one thing I noticed quite heavily there is that Dylan Freckleton is not afraid to trail brake in this car, and I think Jerez Fritsch has a style of driving that is a little bit more, I would say, robotic by comparison. Freckleton is throwing the car into the corners and he's getting the car to stick, but of course, the later and the heavier that he has to be braking out there, Reese, the more he's going to be using those tyres up, and I think that's where Jerez's going to try and want to get this third position away. He is banking on the fact that Dylan Freckleton is burning the tyres like it's yesterday's news, and he realises that if he doesn't have any tyre life at the end of this race, I can just tiptoe round.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a big part of the reason why he's pushing so close to him. He wants to be present in Freckleton's mirrors, doesn't he? Wants to make sure that he's piling that pressure on, maybe pressuring Freckleton into a mistake. We've seen how late Freckleton breaks into the hairpin, and this is the spot where Fritsch really seems to gear up for it. The slipstream seems strong on the run down to dry sack, but you'll see it once again here as it's defensive from Dylan Freckleton. Let's see how late he goes this time. This time Jerez Fritsch is on the racing line, but Freckleton amazingly is able to hold it up. Oh, yeah, could be the over-under here.
Well, he tried it, but he now's going to have to do it for the next 2 corners, and he might line up Aspar. You don't see moves at turn 8 here at Jerez, but Jerez Fritsch going to try!
Oh, no!
Freckleton has lost the rear tyre, and he's out.
Oh, Jerez Fritsch will be feeling pretty sheepish at the moment, and Dylan Freckleton will be very unhappy with how that's gone down. Honestly, Fritsch had to go for it. You know, it was proving a tough customer to get past. Was the driver ahead of him, and well, Freckleton unfortunately losing out there. That's what happens when you bang wheels in an F1 car from the 70s.
Yeah, and it's part of iRacing's damage model, which is brand new to this car, and of course is now on every car in iRacing, and that pretty much told you all you need to know there, that you have to drive as cleanly as you can. There is still, though, Rolly Wallbank, who doesn't want to be ceding any points to Bjorn Ackermann at this point, which will mean got to keep Timothy Reed behind. But these drivers in the F2 Championship, in 6th and 7th places, is the best we've seen the F2 Championship in a very long time.
Yeah, indeed it is. Brilliant performances from both Ackerman and Wallbank right now. But Timothy Reed will try and spoil the party here, I'm sure. 46.77 is the iRating number for him. And he's trying his best to nail the exit of Cito Pons. That's a much better exit than rolling Wallbank. How do they compare coming into the hairpin? It's very easy to run deep into here, and it's pushing, but lovely line from Timothy Reed, just breaking traction a little too much on the exit.
Yeah, and because he's broken that traction, I don't think there's a way forward against Rolly Wallbank. Definitely not here at turn 8. If you get the drive, you might have a half a chance here at Angel Nieto, turn 9. And the like that's there, Miguel Morland now trying to make his recovery. This is against Wolfram Fun. 4th place, he's down 7 spots as Miguel Morland. He wants to make that down only 6, but Wolfram Fun, he's up at double digits, and I think he's the only driver in the field to do so, plus 10.
Yeah, remember, Wolfram started dead last in 26, and we've had 4 retirements so far. Freckleton, Summers, Long, and Andrew Petty as well. So 4 of those positions came due to errors from other drivers, but that's taken nothing away from Wolfram Fun's consistency at the moment and just his ability to stay out of trouble for the time being. Things are starting to heat up, though, in the battle for 8th.
They are, because Barry West was starting to stick his nose in where Timothy Reed, for example, wasn't expecting it to. Reed was a little bit too aggressive into the opening corner, had to catch a bucket of oversteer, which is like trying to wrestle with a bucket full of crabs. You don't want to do it. It gets pretty nippy, so to speak. And because of that, Timothy Reed now finds himself defensive rather than offensive. Baz wants to try and find his way forward. He's looking for that chance at Drysack, but it's not there on this lap.
Yeah, not quite. A little bit of a slide there as Carlos Oliveira is out, and I'm wondering if that was contact with someone else there for him. The number 23 will retire from this event. That makes it 5 drivers that we have lost from this race so far.
Well, he hasn't actually made contact with anything, which makes me think that something technical's happened with him. Maybe he's had a VR running and the screen's just gone blank. It feels like that sort of incident that he's had as he's tipped it into the corner and tried to get through. I doubt it was an engine. It might have been an engine pop, but there is Miguel Morland, and he gets it done at Drysack and confirms the move at turn 7.
Lovely move from Morland, and Wolfram was right there, making sure that he was giving a good amount of space. You know, aside from the incidents that we have seen in this race, this is a very gentlemanly league. You know, the drivers respect each other. You see a lot of the same guys racing every single week, which is exactly what we love. Timothy Reed, meanwhile, still trying to chase down Rolly Wallbank, and I'm just putting myself in the mind of Timothy Reed right now, up 5 positions. He's got Barry West and Thomas Silbernagel right behind him, and they'll take advantage if he makes a mistake, but he's got a brilliant baby blue machine right in front of him. That is a potential top 7, which I don't think Reed was expecting. So he needs to be working hard at the wheel at the moment, trying to gain as much speed as possible through the corners, try and put himself in a position for a move. Look at the run that he's got there.
Yeah, trying to get this sorted out here at Aspar Corner, turn number 8, out on track. Not close enough, though, into Angel Nieto itself. And now try and open up the next section of road. Palucci is going to be a key one to try and get right, but it's not going to find the angle. And because of that, look at these next 2 right-hand bends. They're just perfect for building that gap. And Rolly Wallbank, he's got all the right moves in all the right places. Baz searching for the inside. Barry West is looking like he's saying, you know what, I'm going to go due east and through on this next move. Not happening.
Yeah, you can tell that, at least on that lap, Timothy Reed wasn't very strong on the straight line section of the circuit. There's a battle that's developed here between Jose Conde and Davide Ricciardi. These two have both had their own issues so far in this race, both trying to get a recovery drive going. They've only got 3 seconds to make up to Wolfram Fund there, who is quickly being left behind by Miguel Morland. Still quite a few laps to go. They'll probably stand a chance of getting at least one more position here.
We're inside the final 10 laps to go. These two have been involved in incidents all day long, which is what has caught them out a little bit as they hit the brakes in through the opening section. Now, the gap has absolutely skyrocketed here over this lap on this run. So Pepe Fuentes now nearly 2 seconds behind. He had a bit of lap traffic trouble on the exit of the final corner a lap ago, and that is that car behind, which is Juan Jose Suarez, who was there. But it also goes to show if Jack David Spicker can put a 27.3 down when it really matters, Pepe Fuentes, I think, at some point you've got to wave the white flag and say, I cannot keep that pace.
Well, you remember how fast Pepe was at the start of the race, right? He was one of the first drivers to really go for it in terms of fastest laps. I think that he was overheating the tyres a bit too much. I think he was pushing them too hard too early on. JDS doing the opposite as we keep our eyes peeled on Timothy Reed, still trying to find a way past Rolly Warbank, and it's wide for Thomas Silbernagel. Barry West, actually no, it was West running wide, and Silbernagel tried to go for the move, but the cutback there from Barry West, and he's going to retake the position. I think that's two mistakes compounding on each other from those two drivers.
Well, it was wonderfully defended there by Barry West. It was eyes bigger than the belly from Silbernagel. He just needed that corner of Michelin to confirm it, and he just had the car go straight on as he locked up both fronts. So that was how easy it was to get back to Barry West. But look at what it's cost them in terms of time. It's cost them nearly 2 seconds.
Yeah, just goes to show one mistake can make things completely go the opposite of the way you want. Speaking of, Journo down to 4th, Victor Rodriguez making the move on him. Something's gone very wrong there.
He went off at 8. So Journo all on his own. He had troubles at 8 earlier with Freckleton. He's just completely slid off the road at Aspar Corner. He's got lucky with the gravel. He hasn't beached himself. And now he's going to find out that he's still on with a race for the podium. And it is the Spaniard, Victor Rodriguez, that he's got to get by. Silbernagel continuing on his looks right now, trying to get a pass back on Barry West. He's not going to find it here through Jorge Lorenzo. No chance of that. So it's now a case of once more a day of waiting. But it also brings into the mix there with Rodriguez and Preacher, the ever quiet John Olsen, who might want to pick up a couple places.
Yeah, Olsen's just been lovely and consistent, hasn't he? And actually set his personal best on the previous lap. So keep an eye out for that number 4. Meanwhile, the driver in P4, Zerno Fritscher, back out onto the straight up to Drysack. He's usually been pretty cautious into this hairpin, and it looks like it's the same this time. He's widening the entry, trying to straighten up the exit as best he can. I mean, you compare lap times between these two. Journo has the quicker, fastest lap, but he's been struggling for consistency. Victor Rodriguez has just been able to get that pace a lot better than Fritscher has over the course of the whole race, and he's been largely mistake-free.
Well, it's not a track that's normally run out there on iRacing, which means that it can be a little bit difficult to get your head around it because it is a difficult track. It folds in upon itself 2-3 times over. And now Journo Fritscher, looking here at what is now 6 laps to go when he crosses the line, is thinking, right, I've got to get this move, and I've also got to protect myself. Might have to be on the front stretch here as he closes down that gap. Very difficult here, and he's half in the toe there in Journo Fritscher because he knows he can't make the move at Expo 92, and he doesn't want to compromise his braking zone.
Yeah, you mentioned that you wanted the straight leading up to Drysack to be a couple hundred meters longer, Sperry. I think that's true for pretty much every straight at the circuit in these cars anyway. Most categories that race at Jerez, they're slower than these Lotus 79s. The 79s, they just accelerate so much, they carry so much speed onto the straights, you just don't have time to set up a move before the next heavy braking zone comes.
No, you don't, and look at how important this race has been from the front two. They are nearly 20 seconds off of the race lead right now, which just goes to show how tough of a day you have to be having right now compared to these top two, that you're on for a podium, but you could effectively be a modern F1 pit stop behind. Again, the wide line taken, and that's Timothy Reed. Now, he's done really well to pull back on. Traffic jumps out of the way. That was Doug Cloud just moving there 3 laps down, out from these drivers. Timothy Reed gives a thank you to it, but Rolly Warbank, I think he's got it all covered.
Yeah, Rolly's been driving well as JDS goes even faster out front. Pepe Fuentes was only a couple of tenths slower than him that time by, but keep your eyes peeled on Timothy Reed. Can he carry the speed through Ferrari? That massive kink. Just seems like Rolly Wallbank with the clear air ahead of him has the advantage. He's able to pick his marks a lot better. As, oh dear, Wolfram Fund finding himself in a little bit of drama here. Jose Conde has made his way past, and now Davide Ricciardi is on his way.
Oh, and also on his way, this is Timothy Reed. Finally has he's got the inside here for Michelin, up over the crest and trying to make it happen. Rolly trying to hold around the outside. He'll get tried for the next two corners on the inside. And now, can you sweep around?
Oh, wow.
Oh, you can. Timmy Reed getting it done. Rolly Wallbank has seen a ghost.
Wow, that was fantastic stuff there. I think Wallbank realised on the way into that second left-hander, yeah, the move's done. I'm just going to lift off and let him go. Maybe have another chance in the last 4 laps to get it done. Speaking of chances to get it done, here's Geno Fritsch once again on Victor Rodriguez. Lost the position a couple of laps ago, wants it back, and is definitely the faster driver when he can put a clean lap together. Oh, no! Oh, no! Silvernagel and West coming together, both of them are out.
Just like that, and Thomas Silvernagel sees the funny side in what's happened there. It's a big oh no between those two. The door left open, Barry West sliding, and Silvernagel, who was stuck on the inside, nowhere to go. It's all happening now with 4 laps to go. Defensive line by Victor Rodriguez, and now Geno Fritsch. Can he open up? Oh, he has to slam the brakes on, but wide is going to go Rodriguez, and Fritsch now needs some drive, and he's got none. Somehow, some way, there is a survival technique from Victor Rodriguez, who just shuts the door at 4.
This is turning into a crazy race right at the end. That's such a shame there for Silvernagel, and for West, I believe, was also there as well. Man, they were running in the top 10. That could have been a great finish for the both of them, but they just completely lost it there. And it's only a matter of mere millimeters that make all the difference, as Geno Fritsch and Victor Rodriguez are quickly realizing that I think the battles are only going to tighten up ever more as we enter the final 3 laps of the race up front. Still 3 seconds the gap that JDS has over Pepe.
JDS has done so well in this one to just build that margin. Geno Fritsch shadowing still. Another fastest lap for Jack Davis Pickett, now in the 27.1 out there at this point. A whole second faster than when they started on this fuel. Fritsch looking to really use the banking here at Jorge Lorenzo to get the run that he wants on the camel car in front of Victor Rodriguez. Can he open it up to the inside? He can, but later on the brakes goes Rodriguez. He slides out a little bit with understeer, and that opens the door up at Michelin. You can't shut it on him this time. You're going to have to go completely around the outside. Tentatives they go through. Front to rear contact between the pair, and Fritsch yields.
This is the problem for Geno. He's not as confident on the brakes as the other people he's been racing against tonight. He tries at Cito Pons. Oh, my Lord.
He tried that one, but ultimately he doesn't have the drive. Victor Rodriguez with so much confidence to just keep the power down. John Olsen licking his lips, expecting these two now to tangle at some point. 25 seconds off the pure race lead. Through at Drysack, the best place to get a move done on circuit. It's now about turn 8. Oh, don't try it again. This is what he tried to do with Dylan Freckleton. This time there's no contact. Rodriguez just about holds it, but he's on the wrong side of the road here for Angel Nieto and Palucci corner. So Geno Fritsch, he's going to every trick in the book, and he can't find a spell. Slide by Rodriguez. Here comes the chance for the inside. Alex Creville. Door is slammed shut again.
Oh, no, surely not the inside of Ferrari. Here comes Olsen. He's going to try here at the hairpin. Oh, all over the curb. Geno Fritsch protects the inside. What a final lap this is going to be for the last spot on the podium.
Well, it's 2 laps, so they've got another chance on top of that still yet to go. So they can't just let everything go right now. They've got to think about what you want. 3 drivers, 1 podium space. And this is one of those races where you just got to sit down and say, what do you have available to you? And so you've got to be so switched on and alert. This is where Jerez now just has to block out John Olsen behind him and go hammer and tongs at it here with Victor Rodriguez out of Cito Pons. He needs a drive and he's not got one.
Yeah, he just can't back it into the corner properly. He was just a bit too aggressive on entry, and once again, a bit too early on the brakes at dry stack to really make a move. You see how hard he's powering out of the corners. He is using all of the torque of that V8 engine as best he can, but it's just not enough. He needs to pressure Rodriguez into a mistake, but Rodriguez is proving a very tough nut to crack. The white flag has just flown for Jack-David Spickett. Meanwhile, he started the final lap of the race.
He very much has, and he's got a massive margin over Pepe Fuentes, who's just exploded away. Jerez though, has made his mistake, and through goes John Olsen. He's gone wide out of turn 9. He's had troubles at Palucci corner, and that one's done. Through there, that's Daniel Gallis now, who's eyeing up a top 10 to gain 13 spots. He just needs Manning Grinnan as the last pass. Keith Herner has lost out then in terms of that situation, but this is a race right now where everyone has just sat down. What have you got and what can you hold on to? You can say in the heat here of Spain, it has been all about who has been able to hold on, and at the moment the answer is the driver with number 7 on his car, Jack-David Spickett, who runs himself now towards the final sector through Angel Nieto and now Palucci corner. He's just 3 corners away from 3 straight victories, and this has been a season to remember for the nearly man here of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. Jack-David Spickett out of Lorenzo surely now has a hand on the title. 3 straight. Who stops JDS?
What a fantastic drive. Started from the front, led every lap, has the fastest lap of the race as well. Just a truly magnificent hat-trick for Jack-David Spickett. Victor Rodriguez, John Olsen and Jerez now approaching the final couple of corners, and Victor has done just enough. He held off the advance from Jerez, and Olsen is too far back to do anything about it. Victor Rodriguez is going to finish in 3rd place.
Well, keep an eye on Bjorn Ackermann there over the line, because he did have a spin earlier on in this one. He very nearly got back to them, so he would have had podium pace potential there for the F2 Championship leader. So some massive, massive driving out there from him over towards the end of this one. Ronnie Wallbank will cut his losses today, but he didn't really lose that much. And the move is done on the final lap for Daniel Gallis, who is going to be up 13 places, and I think he's going to steal a top 10 race.
Yeah, looks like it. He's just holding off Manning Grinnan and Keith Herner, who crossed the line very close together. Daniel Gallis to the top 10, 13 spots up. What a drive.
What a drive. It will be Jose Conda who will be the last driver over the line in 15th position. He is a minute 27 off the pace of your overall victor here today, and that will pretty much be that. So let's get some confirmation of result then here from Jerez, and the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto saw a little bit of madness, but none at the front. Jack-David Spickett dominates proceedings, deals with the Pepe Fuentes mistakes, and manages it by 4.5 seconds when all things are said and done. Victor Rodriguez will find himself in 3rd, with John Olsen a consistent 4th ahead of a surprisingly mistake-filled drive by Jerez. He will finish off in 5th. Bjorn Ackermann, your F2 Championship leader, had a chance to jump up with those drivers, but it would be 6th overall for him despite a spin. Timothy Reed will end up 7th, with Ronnie Wallbank in 8th place. Jean-Francois Boscus would finish off in 9th, and from 23rd on the grid, your biggest mover of 13 places, Daniel Gallis will find himself in 10th.
Yeah, fantastic job from him. Manning Grinnan will gain 5 spots to finish 11th. It's up 6 spots for Keith Herner in 12th, and one of the last cars to finish on the lead lap. Krakowiak, Moreland and Conde were the last to do so. Wolfram Fund, making a few late mistakes, will finish 1 lap down. Same for Davide Ricciardi. Juan Jose Suarez also a lap down, as was Barry West. And then we get into retirement territory. Thomas Silbernagel, one of the first there to lose bodywork in the incident. Doug Cloud finished in 21st place with Carlos Oliveira, Freckleton, Summers, Long and Petty all retiring. You gotta wonder what might have been for Dylan Freckleton there in the number 6.
You absolutely do, because he was on course for that podium battle. He very much showed the pace today, but one wrong place at one wrong time, and that was pretty much that. Reese, this is a championship that more and more is shaping into the form of Jack David Spickett's 3 straight victories he's been able to pull together, but it is a Canadian doubleheader over the next 2 weeks. Montreal, then Mosport. So you sit down, and if anyone's going to make any mounted challenge to him in this championship, Reiner's got a 0 next to his board. Timothy Van den Berg has now used his 2 drop rounds. He's got 9 points at Le Mans. John Olsen's consistent, but he's not putting the real challenging points together on the board. Question is this under lock and key for Jack David Spickett?
Yeah, that is the question. I mean, his form has just been incredible in the mid-season, hasn't it? And, you know, the form that we've seen from him in the past as well truly backs that up. I think the rest of the contenders are going to have to pull out something very special if they want to come up against him. His pace here was, frankly, scary.
It was scary, and it is one which you can definitely see time and time again here with us on the Global SimRacing Channel. If you're brand new to us, like, share, and subscribe, and get in for more amazing sim racing action, which is brought to you each and every single day. Want to give a massive thanks to the team here who has helped to get this show over to you, from Reese, from Christian, and from Dougie as well. You can catch all of the amazing equipment that has been used to bring this show over to you right now on your screen, including the music by June Lalonde. You can catch her stuff on Bandcamp if you haven't had the chance to already. We've got so much amazing sim racing on offer, including right now. You want to jump over right now and go watch what is going on in the major series. We're at Eldora, and quite frankly, it is going to be something you do not want to miss in terms of the end of the race. You can join Joe Peak and Joey Atterbury, who are covering all of the action right now. Alternatively, you've got all of the other series that's going to be rolling across your screen. Mark them down in your calendar. Go over to our socials to keep track of us, over to our website as well, and our merch store for your 0.2 of a second advantage. But Jack David Spickett, impossible to stop, impossible to keep in check. But this is a series which you sit down, you look at it, and every one of his challengers has said, we can't make the rounds, and he is the one who's the fastest who can. Nobody is able to catch him in this sort of mid-season summer form. We'll see you next week when it comes to racing action, but join over, of course, to what's going on in the major series. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We will see you at Montreal.